it's time, it's past time to send Bush and Cheney back where they came from before January 2009. All this shows their actions, torture, spying, wiretapping, failure to support Katrina survivors, their own citizens, and lying to start wars, shows there is no rule of law in the United States of America. Bush and Cheney have effectively destroyed the Constitution as a barrier to executive dictatorship. My question is that what is this Congress afraid of? And so as I come to the end of this little discussion, I look forward to the questions. I just want to bring up a moment in history. I start off by saying that I believe that war is obsolete. It is not an effective measure of foreign policy and diplomacy. Killing people does not make them your friends. We now know that in Iraq it has now become a bed, as they call it, for a place of Al-Qaeda and a training ground for terrorism. So obviously this that has made the occupation of Iraq a place where we are wanted, or now even needed, which is why the troops must be brought home now. Recently at the United States Social Forum, the title of that was "Another World is Possible, and Another U.S. is Necessary." And let me just discuss that. I believe that my generation, and the one that we can put forth now, we take on this lunch counter moment that we have. I believe we can end three things before the start of the 22nd century. I believe that we can be the people who end racism, poverty, and war. Which should the Bible says they will say, the children say they will study war no more. Let me just explain why this is important. I want to give you two different scenarios and then bring this thing to a close. I am a minister. I am so far still an officer, so far. And slavery was something that people actually believed we would have forever. If that was the case, if they sat there, I would not be standing here, particularly in North Carolina, talking to you at all. What happened was that even the priest, the Jesuit priests from Georgetown in particular, had to make a decision. They believed that slavery would be with them forever. And so they made a choice. Because of the time, like it is now, sometimes you play politics, the political will, you understand that. They made a choice at that time to, instead of siding with the slaves, the Jesuit priests began to buy slaves themselves. It's recorded. They began to own slaves, to teach the slave owners how to be good slave owners. And so in that process, they began to do that. And we know that did nothing to change the political will, because they sided with the atrocity of slavery. Well, John Brown comes into the scene. And John Brown is an abolitionist. And John Brown says, no, slavery is immoral. I can't side with that. And historians say it's because of John Brown's conviction that even though he called it at Harper's Ferry and nobody showed up, it was because of that the Civil War would start and slavery would end. Where here we are now, at the start of the 21st century. We are at a moment in history where if we do not stand up to Nancy Pelosi and George Bush and Dick Cheney and Reed and all the others, then we are no better than those Jesuit priests who decided to buy slaves. That's a way. We would still be enslaved if we went along with the priests. So now we need a John Brown mentality. We need a mentality that goes beyond you and our existence on this little spinning blue ball. We need a mentality so that when they look back on this time, they will not look back on us and say that time they were a generation who was the path of least resistance. But they will look back and they will see a Cindy Sheehan and they will see a Carlos and they will look back and see all of you. And the tapes might be even greater because they might have them much sharper than DVD. And they'll look back and they'll see way after we've left this little spinning blue planet. And they'll say that humanity still exists because they stood up to Nancy Pelosi and they stood up to George Bush and they returned the power to the people. We need to return the power